So you're thinking about moving to Oceanside, California, but you're not exactly sure where you want to live. Well, I'm giving you a full inside look into all the different neighborhoods, and that way you can choose the exact lifestyle you're looking for. By the way, my name's Nenad, and people just like you reach out to me all the time. So if you want more information on Oceanside or any other city here in San Diego, just let me know and I'll get you all the details. I put my contact info down below and you can reach out to me anytime. All right, so let's start off in downtown Oceanside, and honestly, I gotta say I barely recognize this place now. There's so much that's improved in the last 10 to 15 years, and it's actually still cheaper than Carlsbad Village or even downtown Encinitas. Now there's 2 brand new hotels, there's lots of new restaurants opening, and a huge new developments replacing the old movie theater. So they're building 326 residential units, 26,000 square feet of commercial space, and a 15,000 square foot plaza. But downtown Oceanside's a really fun place to hang out now, and it's not just up and coming anymore. So you've got the pier, the beach, coffee shops, breweries, rooftop bars, and everything's walkable. And that's definitely a big plus because we drive a lot here in San Diego, so having everything nearby is super nice. Plus the coaster stops right in downtown, and it only takes an hour to get down to San Diego. So you can jump on the coaster and get to a Padres game, or if you commute to work a few days a week, this makes it way easier to get down there. There's also a lot of young professionals living in downtown Oceanside, and they're actually saving over $400 a month on their rent. Now the average rental price is $2,700 in Oceanside, $4,100 in Carlsbad, and over $4,400 in Encinitas. So they're still getting that coastal lifestyle, but they're paying way less for it here. Now there's a lot of tourists that visit downtown Oceanside in the summer, and it can honestly get pretty crowded, so just be ready for quite a bit of traffic. And look, there's definitely still some challenges around here, and I probably hear about parking more than anything else. Street parking is usually really hard to come by, especially in the afternoon, so make sure you have a designated parking space or else you're going to spend way too much time looking for one. And like I said, the train goes right through downtown, so if you don't like noise or lots of people walking around, then it's probably not going to be the best fit. Hey guys, if you could just real quick like the video and make sure you subscribe, it really helps the channel grow and I can make more videos just like this one. All right, now let's go down to the south part of town, which is probably my favorite place in Oceanside. I just love how quick and easy it is to get to Carlsbad from here, so you get easy access to all of their amenities plus everything else you get around here. Now the price of a detached house in Carlsbad is right around 1.9 million, but Oceanside's down at about $1 million, so it's basically 50% cheaper here. But this south end does have a little bit of a premium to it just because it's such a popular spot right now, so plan on paying about 1.5 million in this part of town. It's also a great spot for younger families, and I get a lot of first-time home buyers asking about South Oceanside and even just Oceanside in general. So if you're priced out of other coastal cities, then see if there's something here that you like. Now most of these are from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, but there's some new construction and different flips around here. So you can definitely find a house that's more modern or upgraded. Or if you want to buy something that's a little bit older for a little bit cheaper of a price and you don't mind putting the work in, then that's a solid option as well. You also don't get as many tourists over here just because it's more of a residential pocket, but there's still a lot to do around here. And there's different restaurants and coffee spots right on the 101. Now most of these streets are pretty quiet and you'll see people out walking their dogs or pushing their strollers, so it's just a much more laid back vibe. So if you want a more family friendly neighborhood, but let's say you still want super easy access to the beach, then this is probably the best place to look. Plus South Oceanside Elementary School is right off Cassidy Street, and Lincoln Middle School and Oceanside High School are only a few minutes away, and you can drive to all of these in less than 10 minutes. Okay, so most people don't know this, but the city of Oceanside is one of the biggest in San Diego County, and all the different areas feel completely different. Some places feel like a beach town, others are more quiet and residential. So when you tell me you want to move to Oceanside, it's really important you know about all the different areas. Now one of the most popular areas and also the one of the most expensive is Fire Mountain. You're looking at about 1.2 million for a fixer over here, and for a median priced house, you're at about 1.5. But if you want something that's bigger and newer, those are between 1.5 and 2.5 million. Now I love that you're up on the hill over here, so you get a little bit of elevation, and certain pockets even get an ocean view, so that's a big reason for the higher home prices. You're also just a few minutes to the beach, and you're not really dealing with all the traffic on the coast, so it just feels more private up here, which some of you might really like. Now most of the houses in Fire Mountain are detached single family homes, and they were built in the 60s and 70s, and there's also some brand new construction, so there's actually a nice mix of different options. But if you're specifically looking for a condo or a townhouse, then you're probably going to look at some other parts of Oceanside like Rancho Del Oro. Also inventory is usually pretty tight on Fire Mountain, so if a house is priced right, it'll probably end up selling really fast, and most people hold hold on to these homes longer and your options are going to be a lot more limited. Now, Rancho del Oro is another super popular neighborhood, and you can find a newer townhouse here between $700,000 and $800,000. And if you don't mind living in an older building, there's some out there for $700,000. So it's just a much more affordable area. Now, most of the detached houses were built in the 80s and 90s, but when you're driving around here, everything feels really clean and super well maintained. A lot of these have 3-car garages, nice sized yards, and it just feels more of like a typical suburban neighborhood. There's also parks, trails, and even playgrounds, so it's a super family friendly area. Now, entry-level houses start at about $900,000, which is an absolute steal if you compare it to other coastal cities. But if you want something that's bigger, maybe 2,000 to 2,500 square feet with a nice yard, then you're looking at about 1.1 to 1.3 million. Now, one thing I love about Rancho del Oro is how there's everything you need around you. You've got schools, nearby shopping plazas, and there's not really too much traffic around here, so most of their streets are pretty quiet and safe, which is another huge plus if you have kids. Alright, so another area is Miracosta, and this one's right next to Rancho del Oro, and it's actually named after the community college here, but it has a really similar feel to Rancho del Oro, so it's super family friendly, lots of different parks, and some of them even have a golf course view. And I love that you're elevated up here, so the views are some of the best in Oceanside. All these neighborhoods are planned really well, and most of them are going to have an HOA, but it's usually only $100 to $200 a month, so it's definitely not that bad. But it's clean and manicured, and you get tons of walkability. And the location's great because it's just a couple of minutes away from the 78 freeway, so the beach and downtown Oceanside are only 10 minutes away, and it's really easy to jump in your car and make that drive. Also, Henny Hills is a really great neighborhood that's kind of tucked away around El Camino Country Club. So it's super peaceful over here, and a lot of these houses have bigger lot sizes, so it's a great place to look if that's what you want. Now, it's actually a little bit of an older area, and most of these were built around the 60s, 70s, and 80s, so they'll definitely need some updating if you want something that's super modern. But I will say it's pretty challenging finding a house up here, and in the last 12 months, there's only been 4 sales. So it's a great area, but it's just not the easiest place to break into, and your options are pretty limited. Now, I get a lot of calls about Oceanside, and there's so many different neighborhoods and pockets, so it's super important to talk to someone who knows the area. You've got a lot of options for first-time home buyers in that 500 to 800,000 range, and these are mostly going to be condos and townhouses. Also, these have a monthly HOA fee, so plan on paying anywhere from $300 to $600 a month depending on the community. So for sure, make sure that's something you look into. But once you get up to about 900,000, you start getting into more of the detached houses. So anywhere from 900 to 1.2, you're going to get a really solid house that's in a great location. And if there's an HOA fee, it's usually around 100 to 200 a month, so it's way less than with condos. Now, anything from about 1.5 to 2.2 is going to be more on the higher end for Oceanside, which might seem like a lot at first, but you can barely get a starter home in Encinitas and Carlsbad for 1.3 to 1.4, and it's probably not going to be turnkey. So that's a big reason why people choose Oceanside, because it's one of the last coastal cities in San Diego where you get a real range of home prices. So you can get into that starter condo at first, build that equity for a few years, and then move on to something bigger and better. There's also some new construction communities popping up in Oceanside, so if you want a brand new house, there's definitely going to be some options. Everything from townhouses to detached homes, and some of them even have attached guest houses. Now, one thing about new construction is they usually have a Mello-Roos tax, which is basically an additional property tax. But every new community is different, so let me know if you're interested and I'll give you all the details. Alright guys, hopefully you got a lot of information out of this video, but if you have any questions, just give me a call or send me an email or a text. And if you're thinking about moving to Oceanside or really anywhere else in San Diego, I can definitely help you narrow down all your options. Especially if you're not from here, it's really important to get some real guidance and give you that peace of mind when you're moving here. Also, make sure you watch some of my other videos, or maybe check this one out right up here. They're all super helpful and packed with a ton of different information. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.